Gary Speed played 535 Premier League matches, more than any player before him. More than Shearer, more than Giggs, more than Scholes. He played for Leeds United, Everton, Newcastle United, Bolton Wanderers and Sheffield United across 20 years of top-flight football. And in all that time, he was never the most talented player on any pitch he walked onto. He was never the fastest, never the most skillful, never the one the cameras followed or the pundits raved about. And yet every single manager he ever played for said the same thing. He was the first name on the team sheet, every time. Gary Speed was not a superstar. He was the player who made everyone around him better, the player who did whatever the team needed, in whatever position the team needed him to do it, without complaint and without recognition. And near the end of his life, as manager of the Wales national team, he left behind a principle that would prove more prophetic than anyone realized at the time. The best players, he believed, are not always the most talented. They are the ones with the strongest mentality, the greatest versatility, and the willingness to put the team above themselves. This is the story of that principle, and the story of the 24-year-old English footballer who is living proof that Gary Speed was right. His name is Bukayo Saka, and he is everything Speed warned us about. To understand the warning, you first have to understand the man. Gary Andrew Speed was born on the 8th of September 1969 in Mancott, Flintshire, in North Wales. He was not blessed with exceptional talent at a young age. That is not an insult. That is what the people who watched him develop said about him. He was not quick. He was not flashy. He did not have the kind of natural ability that makes scouts pull out their phones and start making calls. What he had was something that took longer to notice, but lasted far longer once you did. He had work ethic. He had intelligence. He had the discipline to turn up every single day, work harder than everyone else, and leave the training ground knowing he had squeezed every last drop out of whatever ability he possessed. He joined Leeds United as a trainee in 1988, Peter Swan's boot boy, and signed his first professional contract at the age of 18. Howard Wilkinson, the Leeds manager, first noticed him playing left-back in a youth match, and was struck not by any single moment of brilliance, but by the consistency of his decision-making and the maturity of his movement. Speed made his first team debut at 19 in a goalless draw against Oldham Athletic in the old second division. He was quiet, almost shy, and his success was not overnight. But he worked. He turned up early. He practiced hard. He went home late, and over the course of 2 seasons, he developed into one of the most reliable midfielders in the club's history. Speed went on to play 41 of 42 league matches as Leeds won the First Division Championship in 1992, the last title before the creation of the Premier League. He was 22 years old and already a league champion. He was part of a midfield that also included Gordon Strachan, Gary McAllister, and David Batty, a quartet that former Leeds manager Eddie Gray called one of the greatest midfield lineups in the modern era. Speed was not the star of that midfield. Strachan was the creator, McAllister was the technician, Batty was the destroyer. Speed was the one who connected them all, the one who ran the channels, won the headers, provided the balance, and did the work that nobody noticed until he was not there to do it. He was named in the Premier League's first ever PFA Team of the Year for the 1992-93 season. He moved to Everton in 1996 for £3.5 million, captained the club in the 1997-98 season, and then joined Newcastle United in 1998 for £5.5 million. At Newcastle, under managers Kenny Dalglish, Ruud Gullit, and then Bobby Robson, he became one of the most respected midfielders in the Premier League. He made 285 appearances for the club across all competitions, scored 39 goals, and played in the Champions League in the 2002-2003 season, scoring the equaliser in a 2-1 home victory over Dynamo Kyiv. He reached 2 FA Cup finals with Newcastle in 1998 and 99, losing both. Bobby Robson was sorry to see him leave when he eventually moved to Bolton Wanderers in 2004. At Newcastle, Speed had served as a mentor for young players, encouraging the French fullback Olivier Bernard to communicate on the field and acting as an informal second captain who organised and motivated the squad. Kenny Dalglish, who had signed him, later said he knew Gary Speed as a fantastic footballer, but more important than that, he was a decent man. At Bolton, Speed became the first player to make 500 Premier League appearances, a milestone he reached in December 2006 at the age of 37. He scored a header for Bolton against Reading in August 2007, making him the only player to have scored in every single Premier League season from its inception in 1992 all the way through to 2007, a record of longevity and consistency that spoke to his extraordinary physical conditioning and his willingness to adapt his game as his body aged. In his later years, he was a trailblazer for modern sports science, embracing yoga, stretching, diet, and rest to extend his career at a time when most footballers of his generation were still eating fish and chips and going to the pub after training. He played in 9 of the 10 outfield positions during his career. When Mark Hughes, the Wales manager, asked him to play left-back because the squad did not have one, Speed said yes without hesitation. A teammate later recalled that Speed was captain and well within his rights to choose which position he played, but he just said yes because that was the kind of man he was. He was for the team all day long, and with him at left-back, they almost qualified for Euro 2004. Speed retired from playing in 2008 at the age of 39, having made 840 domestic appearances and scored 134 goals across a career that spanned 2 decades. For Wales, he earned 85 caps and scored 7 goals, captaining the side 44 times. He was, at the time of his retirement, the most capped outfield player in Welsh football history. He managed Sheffield United briefly in 2010, before being appointed manager of the Wales national team in December of that year. What Speed did as Wales manager in just 11 months was remarkable. He inherited a squad that was at rock bottom, ranked 117th in the world. A team that had not qualified for a major tournament in over 50 years. A country whose football fans had stopped believing that qualification was even possible. But Speed saw something that others had missed. He saw talent, young talent. Gareth Bale was emerging as a generational player at Tottenham, the kind of winger who could beat any defender in the world on his day. Aaron Ramsey, just 20 years old, was developing into one of the most intelligent midfielders in the Premier League at Arsenal. Joe Allen was a composed, technically gifted passer at Swansea who would later thrive at Liverpool under Brendan Rodgers. Chris Gunter, Neil Taylor, Ashley Williams, all young, all hungry, all waiting for someone to believe in them. Speed looked at this group and saw the future. He appointed Ramsey as captain at the age of 20, a bold decision that said everything about his belief in trusting young players and building for the long term. In his final post-match interview after a 4-1 victory over Norway in November 2011, he said words that would become devastatingly poignant. "We have got talent in abundance, and I am fortunate to be in that position. I think these players can achieve what they want. They just have to have the confidence to do it. We are building for the future. There is still a lot of improving to be done, but we are going in the right direction." On the 27th of November, 2011, Gary Speed was found dead at his home in Cheshire. He was 42 years old. He had appeared on BBC's Football Focus the previous day, discussing Wales's progress and their upcoming fixtures, seemingly in good spirits. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the football world that reverberated for weeks. Craig Bellamy, his teammate at Newcastle and Wales, and a player Speed had managed in his final months, was too distraught to play for Liverpool that afternoon. Kenny Dalglish withdrew him from the squad without hesitation. Kenny Dalglish himself, who had signed Speed for Newcastle years earlier, said he was not only a great footballer, but a great person. Robbie Savage, one of Speed's closest friends, broke down on live BBC television, and could barely speak. Alan Shearer, who had played alongside Speed at Newcastle for 6 years, was visibly devastated. Across the Premier League that weekend, minutes of applause were held at every ground. Players wore black armbands, grown men wept in the stands and in the commentary boxes. FIFA President Sepp Blatter described Speed as a model professional and a fantastic ambassador for the game. It was, by any measure, one of the most emotionally devastating losses football has ever suffered, made worse by the fact that nobody who knew him saw it coming. An entire nation mourned. The foundation Speed had laid for Welsh football, the youth development, the tactical principles, the culture of professionalism and belief that he had instilled in a group of players who had been conditioned to expect nothing, were later built upon by his successor, Chris Coleman, who took Wales to the semi-finals of Euro 2016, the country's first major tournament appearance since 1958. The achievement was widely and rightly credited to the pathway Speed had created. Aaron Ramsey, the captain Speed had appointed at 20, wore Speed's initials on his boots throughout the tournament. Gareth Bale, the player Speed had identified as the centerpiece of his project, produced the performances of his life. They did it for him, everyone knew it. He never got to see it, but it was his work, his vision, his legacy. Now look at Bukayo Saka, and look at the parallels. Bukayo Ayoyinka Temidayo Moses Saka was born on the 5th of September 2001 in Ealing, West London, to Nigerian parents of Yoruba heritage. His father Yomi was a factory worker. His mother Adenike raised 2 boys in a modest household where football was loved, but a career in the sport was never taken for granted. Saka joined the Arsenal Academy at the age of 7, walking through the doors of Hale End, the club's youth development centre in Walthamstow, with no guarantee that he would ever make it to the first team. The dropout rate in Premier League academies is brutal. 99% of boys who enter at 7 never play a professional match. Saka was the 1%, but not because he was the most talented kid in his age group. He was good, obviously. You do not survive at Arsenal's academy for 10 years without being good. But what set him apart, what every coach who worked with him remarked upon, was his attitude. His willingness to learn, his discipline, his professionalism, even as a teenager, and his versatility. He could play anywhere across the front line and in defense, and he did so without ever once suggesting that any position was beneath him. His senior debut came in November 2018, at the age of 17, in a Europa League match against Vorskla Poltava of Ukraine. He started at left-back, not right wing, where he would later become one of the most dangerous attackers in the Premier League. Left-back, he provided an assist, and from that moment, the pattern was set. Saka was the player who could do anything, play anywhere, and deliver in every position he was asked to fill. In his early seasons under Unai Emery and then Mikel Arteta, he played left-back regularly when the team needed cover, then shifted to left wing and eventually settled on the right wing, where he has become one of the most feared attackers in European football. He won the FA Cup with Arsenal in 2020 at the age of 18, starting the semi-final and the final, and performing with a maturity that belied his age. He never once complained about position changes. He never once demanded to play in his preferred role. He just performed, consistently and excellently, wherever the team needed him. Speed was the same, 9 outfield positions across a 20-year career. Captain who agreed to play left-back without argument. The team came first. Always. The parallel is not forced. It is real. 2 players separated by 3 decades, born in different countries who share the same fundamental quality: the willingness to subordinate personal preference to collective need, and the ability to excel in whatever role they are given. Saka's development at Arsenal has been extraordinary, a slow-burn masterclass in how an academy product can grow into a world-class footballer without ever needing to leave the club that raised him. He has made over 316 appearances for Arsenal, scoring 82 goals and providing approximately 62 assists across all competitions. In the Premier League alone, he has 60 goals and 58 assists in 226 appearances, numbers that place him alongside Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp, as only the third Arsenal player to surpass both 60 goals and 50 assists in the competition. He has been named Arsenal's Player of the Season twice, in 2021 and 2022. He has been named England Men's Player of the Year twice. He takes Arsenal's penalties. He is two-footed, able to cut inside onto his stronger left foot, or go down the outside with his right. He creates chances at a rate that puts him in the top percentiles of the Premier League for expected assists and key passes. And he does all of this while also being one of the hardest working defensive wingers in the division, tracking back to help his fullback, pressing from the front and doing the kind of unglamorous, lung-burning running that most attacking players of his quality consider beneath them. In May 2026, he helped Arsenal win the Premier League title for the first time in over 21 years, ending a drought that stretched all the way back to the invincible season of 2003 to 2004. He contributed 7 goals and 5 assists in 31 league appearances across the title-winning campaign, and also helped Arsenal reach the Champions League final. He signed a new long-term contract in February 2026, reportedly until 2031, and is valued at 120 million euros, making him the most valuable English player in world football. He has never been transferred. He has never cost Arsenal a single penny in transfer fees. Everything he is was built from within, from the training pitches of Hale End to the biggest stages in world football. But the numbers, as impressive as they are, do not tell the most important part of Bukayo Saka's story. The most important part happened on the 11th of July 2021, in the final of Euro 2020 at Wembley Stadium. England were playing Italy. The match went to a penalty shootout. Saka, 19 years old, was chosen to take the 5th and decisive penalty. He walked from the halfway line to the penalty spot with the weight of a nation on his shoulders. He struck the ball toward the bottom right corner. Gianluigi Donnarumma saved it. Italy were champions. England had lost. And within hours, Bukayo Saka, a 19-year-old boy, was subjected to a torrent of racial abuse online that was so vile, so sustained, and so dehumanizing that it prompted statements of condemnation from the Prime Minister, the Metropolitan Police, Arsenal Football Club, and FIFA. Most people would have been destroyed by that experience. The missed penalty would have been enough to haunt a player for years. History is full of footballers whose careers were defined by a single miss from 12 yards. Men who could never quite escape the shadow of the moment when the ball went the wrong side of the post. The racial abuse on top of it could have broken Saka entirely. He was 19 years old. He had been asked to take a penalty that senior, more experienced players had declined. He had stepped up when others had stepped back. And his reward was to be called things that no human being should ever have to read about themselves, by people hiding behind anonymous accounts who saw his skin color before they saw his courage. It did not break Bukayo Saka, it made him stronger, it made him more determined. It made him, in the deepest and most meaningful sense of the word, unbreakable. He came back the following season and was named Arsenal's Player of the Season. He came back the season after that and was named Arsenal's Player of the Season again. He became the leader of Arsenal's attack under Arteta, the player around whom the entire right side of the team was built. He scored crucial goals in title races. He delivered in North London derbies. He performed in Champions League nights under the Highbury lights and away in the cauldrons of European football. And then he came back at Euro 2024 in Germany and scored in the quarter-final penalty shootout victory over Switzerland, stepping up to the spot in Dusseldorf with the full knowledge of what had happened 3 years earlier and burying the ball into the net with the composure of a man who had faced the worst the world could throw at him and decided it was not going to define him. England reached the final, losing 2-1 to Spain, but Saka was one of their best players throughout the tournament. A constant threat on the right wing, who terrified every left-back he came up against. At the 2026 World Cup, Saka has been one of England's most important players once again. He came off the bench in the opening match against Croatia and provided an assist as England pulled clear in a 4-2 victory, demonstrating in 18 minutes exactly what he brings to the team. He has registered 3 assists in the tournament so far, the most by any Arsenal player at a single World Cup on record, matching Dennis Bergkamp's total from France 1998. In the round of 16 against Mexico, he provided the cross from which Jude Bellingham headed home the first goal of a quick-fire brace that turned the match on its head. He has been exactly what he has always been. Not the flashiest player on the pitch, not the one the cameras follow or the commentators build their narratives around, but the one who makes things happen, who creates the chances, who tracks back and defends, who does the work that allows the more celebrated names around him to shine. Thomas Tuchel, the England manager, has made it clear that Saka is the first name on the right side of his attack. He is, without debate, England's most important attacking player. That is the speed principle in action. The player who makes everyone around him better. The player who does whatever the team needs. The player whose value is measured not in individual highlights or social media clips or Ballon d'Or nominations, but in the collective performance of the side when he is on the pitch versus when he is not. Arsenal without Saka are a different team, a demonstrably worse team. A team that lacks the balance, the creativity, the defensive work rate, and the relentless two-way running that he provides on the right flank. When Saka was injured or rested during the 2024 to 2025 season, Arsenal's attacking output dropped noticeably. The team became lopsided, predictable, easier to defend against. With him, they were Premier League champions. The correlation is not a coincidence. England without Saka are the same, diminished, incomplete. Missing the player who connects the midfield to the attack, who stretches defenses with his movement and his pace, who takes penalties under pressure that would crush most human beings, and who does it all without drama, without ego, and without ever once suggesting that he is too important for the unglamorous work. Gary Speed played 535 Premier League matches and was never the most talented player on the pitch. He was something better than that. He was the most useful. He was the player every manager wanted because he could play anywhere. He never missed games. He never caused problems. He never complained about his role, and he made the team better every single time he crossed the white line. He was the ultimate professional in an era when professionalism was not fashionable, when most players drank too much and trained too little and considered sports science to be something that happened in other countries. Speed embraced it all. He stretched when others went to the pub. He studied opponents when others watched television. He prepared his body with the care of a man who understood that longevity was earned, not given. And when he became a manager, he preached the same principle to a new generation of players. Have the confidence to do it. Put the team first. Work harder than everyone else. Believe that you can achieve what you want if you are willing to do what it takes. Saka is 24 years old. He has 82 goals and 62 assists for Arsenal. He has 14 goals in over 48 caps for England. He has won the Premier League, the FA Cup, 2 Community Shields and 2 England Player of the Year awards. He has been racially abused by thousands of people who did not know him and would never meet him. He has missed a penalty in a European Championship final at the age of 19, carried the guilt and the trauma of that night, and come back stronger every single time. He is not the most naturally gifted player in the England squad. Jude Bellingham is more spectacular. Phil Foden is more technically dazzling. Cole Palmer is more unpredictable. But Saka is the one you cannot do without. He is the one who makes it all work. He is the glue, the connector, the tireless runner who links defense to attack and gives the team its shape and its identity. He is the one who, if you took him out of the starting 11, would leave a hole that no other player in England's squad could fill. That is not an opinion. That is what every manager who has worked with him has concluded, from Arteta to Southgate to Tuchel. Gary Speed would have recognized him instantly. He would have seen the versatility, the consistency, the mentality, the willingness to sacrifice personal glory for the good of the team. He would have seen a player who was not blessed with the most exceptional natural talent in his squad, but who developed his game through relentless hard work, through thousands of hours on the training pitch, through a professionalism and a dedication that turned raw potential into world-class execution. He would have seen a player who, like him, could play anywhere, who, like him, never complained, who, like him, was the first name on every manager's team sheet, not because of what he could do with the ball at his feet, but because of everything he did without it. He would have seen himself. Speed died at 42. He never got to see the Wales team he built reach the semi-finals of Euro 2016, a tournament where the players he had identified and nurtured, Bale, Ramsey, Allen, Williams, performed with the confidence and belief he had instilled in them. He never got to see the principles he lived by, validated on the biggest stage in European football, but those principles did not die with him. They live on every time a player puts the team first, plays wherever he is asked, works harder than anyone else on the pitch, and proves that mentality is worth more than all the talent in the world. They live on in the culture he created for Welsh football, and they live on every time Bukayo Saka pulls on an England shirt and does exactly that. The best players are not always the most talented. Gary Speed proved it across 535 Premier League matches, 85 international caps, and 20 years of football played at the highest level without a single moment of controversy or complaint. Bukayo Saka is proving it right now at a World Cup in front of the entire world. And the warning could not be clearer. When you find a player like this, a player who will run through walls for the team, who will play any position without complaint, who will come back from the worst moment of his life and score the penalty that matters most, you do not let him go. You do not take him for granted. You build around him, you trust him, and you let him show you what the strongest mentality in football looks like. Like and subscribe for more football documentaries. Until next time.